Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Here to talk all things hockey are your hosts, Brad Crisco, Ryan Hanna, and Evan Lobsinger.
So it's been 5 years.
5 years.
5 years.
Half a decade. Half of a decade.
How many years have we been in the playoffs? Once?
Was it the first year?
No, we've had two. We've covered 2 playoff rounds. Both losses. No. Yeah, 2. Both against Tampa Bay.
2015.
Yeah.
2016.
Yeah.
Last year we...
2016 was the last.
What year is it? So I brought beers to celebrate. Put away your mint and basil.
Oh.
Mint and basil? That just sounds
It's
gross.
not good. It's not good.
So
Evan brought us a present?
this is going to sound terrible on
the mic?
on a mic because they gave me a brown... Here, I'll put the brown paper bag down.
I was gonna
Does
say.
that help for audio?
It wouldn't be
And try and talk like this while I reach. So I was at the LCBO, no free ads, and I was like, what the hell do these two drink? And I honestly had no idea. So I was like, I know Brad likes that beer from Letterkenny. Couldn't find it. So I was like, well, now I'm really screwed. So I was like, what does Ryan like? I was like, I have no idea. He's
Everything.
drinking mint and basil. So now I don't really know.
It's not good. It's a mint and basil
So I was
cider.
like-
It's not good.
So I was like, what are their personalities like?
Oh, boy.
So I started
He's about to give me a can of gasoline.
I started browsing the aisles, and I was gonna get Brad a Bud Light, but I was like, that's too mean. So instead, I got Brad a vanilla porter because Brad's a little bit vanilla. He married his girlfriend when they've been together since they were 12. I figured that was it.
Bad, I bought this one before.
Oh, my God.
And I wasn't going to buy like the crappy beers. I wanted to get you guys something that's at least half decent. It may be what it is, but anyway. So then I was like, what the hell am I going to get Ryan? So I was like, no good names for any of the IPAs were coming out until I laid my eyes on this one. It's from Great Lakes Brewery, and it's Pompous Ass.
I actually really like this beer.
Oh, perfect.
There you
So
go.
everybody's happy.
What did you get?
Oh, and then of course, since I'm a genius and the only one with any smart things, I got myself Eureka.
Oh.
I honestly couldn't find myself a beer, so.
All right, boys. Well,
Oh, Brad.
Brad spilled everywhere, all over our brand new table.
spill.
I know, but the people who are listening don't know that.
So this has been terrible
Evan's
audio
the one who
quality.
shook it up. That wasn't on me. Oh, I'm dripping a little bit.
Yeah,
If only we had coasters everywhere.
we do.
I'm trying to not
You
get it
can
on
pull
the
one
table.
out from under your thing.
Brad has one literally right beside him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I got it. I'm good.
Well, boys,
Cheers.
cheers to 5 years. Cheers, cheers, and to the next 5.
Oh, God, please no.
So that was what my task was after work today. I actually had a lot of fun doing it.
I want
As soon as I saw Pompous Ass, I laughed out loud, and people probably thought I was a nutcase.
I need everyone to know. This wasn't tasked to Evan. He didn't give us any inkling that he was doing this. And if you want to have a barometer or a measure of how much we've grown as a podcast, ask yourself, 5 years ago, would Evan have done this?
No. It's also Friday for me, so I was feeling like I need a beer. So I was like, all right, perfect.
Fair.
Perfect timing.
Evan, thank you.
You are welcome.
Brad, thank you. Listeners, thank you. This is the 5
Why? What did I do?
year anniversary of the Winged Wheel podcast starting. When we started this, I know we ask ourselves this every year. We never, ever, ever, ever would have imagined we got to where we are now. Over 800,000 listens, well on our way to 1 million. The biggest Red Wings podcast on the air, the most amazing fan base. Crazy. I don't want to let you guys off scot-free. Crazy. You guys are absolute lunatics. But we are so fortunate. Our biggest problem right now is I ran out of envelopes and stamps because I'm sending out so many bumper stickers to those of you who live in Michigan and drive vehicles and actually want to put our logo on your cars.
Weirdos.
Freaks. But we are cold and dead and weren't programmed to have hearts, and we still our hearts hurt with how much we appreciate you guys. 5 years of the Winged Wheel podcast. What did we have? What else did we have in those 5 years? 2 playoff series.
Whole lot of heartbreak.
Whole lot of heartbreak. 2 kids.
I was going to say as many playoff series as kids.
Uh-oh.
You can't have any more. Evan and I
won't.
are both now in long-term relationships. Although I guess if either one of us gets dumped, this won't age well. Which would be funny. It would be good content, I think.
Yeah, we'll just have a retrospective in 5 years.
Yeah, it wouldn't be bad.
Technically speaking, I wasn't even married yet when we started this thing.
No, yeah, you were engaged when we...
Oh, God.
And Evan and I went to your wedding.
I think it was like...
Best looking couple at the wedding.
It's true.
You're a hot
The other
child.
gay couple were getting all fired up.
Yeah, I know.
They were, I've told you guys the story. They literally asked my wife if you two were a couple, right?
Not yet. We're working on it.
Undeniable chemistry.
This is I know you guys don't like when we ramble too much before episodes and start talking Red Wings, but this actually is super important for another reason. We remembered this year.
I'm shocked. I think that's the first one we've ever remembered.
We've caught like a week or two after every time.
Did we catch it or to somebody else?
No, we were talking about this like months in advance. Like we knew this year would be 5 years. So.
I think I brought it up the one day I was waiting here before you got here.
Yeah. Brad was like, hey, do we know when that is? I'm like, yeah, it's literally in my calendar. And how did we ever forget it's the day before Valentine's Day? Yeah.
I don't know.
To celebrate, we are, we can't pretend to be too organized, but one thing we have decided that we're going to do is we're going to get some more, we haven't done this in a long time, custom Winged Wheel podcast jerseys that will be going out to followers and patrons. So keep an eye out for those announcements, and we'll be giving those away over the next little while. We'll also be doing giveaways for our end of the season, last Red Wings game of the year meetup that we do in Detroit, which is a weekend after our Grand Rapids meetup. So we got a busy few months coming up ahead of us. We got the trade deadline at the end of this month. So believe it or not, we are simultaneously in the thick of it, like the thick of the grind where no one wants to care about Red Wings hockey right now, and also approaching our high time.
Should we do some ticket giveaways for the Grand Rapids game?
We certainly should.
If people are going or they're in the area and they're kind of unsure.
Yeah, we'll do that. If you're in Grand Rapids or can make it to Grand Rapids, we'll do a ticket giveaway too.
Sure.
Yeah, why not? All right.
That
You
way
can
someone
watch-
has to show up to the pregame.
You can watch me crush 15 hot dogs in the stands like a true Canadian trying to be American.
Evan, is this the most sentimental thing you've ever done? If we tell Kat you did this, would she be jealous?
She was there with me, but she was wondering why we were going to the LCBO. No free ads.
You went to the...
Mind you, we were driving past it, so don't act like I went out of my way.
I don't know, Brad. It seems like he went out of
He
his
just
way.
saw it and he's like, you know what, it'd be fun. Which is still a big step for him.
Pompous ass is so apt. Sometimes
I saw it. I was like, I don't know what to get Ryan. And I saw that one. I was like, yep, that's the one.
Sometimes I have to send 11 messages in a row, and all I can think of is, oh man, I look like such a douche right now. And I do, as evidenced by this beautiful can from Great Lakes Brewery.
No free ads.
No free ads, though.
Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast. I'm Pompous Ass.
I'm boring.
I'm Eureka.
And today on the show, besides just talking about ourselves, we have quite a bit to talk about, a lot of different little things. Stuff happening around the NHL, trades, some scary incidents, banners being raised. Zdeno Chara almost killed someone else, and the best player in the world is currently injured. We'll talk about the Red Wings who are playing the New Jersey Devils as we're recording. This is what happens when we all work full-time jobs, is that sometimes we have to do this. So we'll do our best not to be distracted by that. And then we'll maybe do some more prospect talk, because there can't ever be enough of that. And then some trade deadline primers as well. All right. I want to start with one thing, actually, because I think it's a pretty serious topic. And, it was scary news, but it all kind of came together okay. And that's about Jay Bouwmeester, defenseman for the St. Louis Blues, who just a couple days ago collapsed on the bench, had a cardiac incident. They had to use the paddles on him. It came out today that they had to revive him with the paddles. So it's not that he just collapsed and came to. Those processes where there's 3 doctors that have to be at every game and the paddles have to be within reach from the bench, that saved his life.
And the doctors need a clear path to him too. He does no locked doors, no obstructions, no
sitting in the middle of a row.
No, like clear path. You get there right away with no hindrance.
And that saved Jay Bouwmeester. And for those of you who might not know, it was back in 2005. It was November of 2005 when the Red Wings were playing the Nashville Predators. I think it was, where Yuri Fisher collapsed on the bench. And that was the first incident that the league had in some time, or at least of that nature in some time. And Yuri Fisher, who's now, is he still in player development with Detroit? Yep. He was I
think he's the director now.
He was saved by the defibrillator. It could have been a much more terrible incident. And for those of you who know, there's over in the KHL, Alexei Sharapanov was actually passed away through something similar over in Russia because of a lot of basically processes and things that weren't set up. Like there's an ambulance or there's a car blocking the ambulance from getting to the arena or something, and they didn't have the paddle. I don't know the actual details, but similar kind of incident and just a different level of preparedness. So it was Yuri Fisher and then
Rich Peverly
in Dallas.
Is there someone on Calgary?
Brody collapsed earlier this year.
During a practice, yeah.
So
he's already playing again, though. He had a seizure, though. He didn't have a cardiac event.
Yeah. After Yuri Fisher, they mandated that there had to be 2 doctors in that, like Brad mentioned, clear path. And then after Rich Peverly, they made it 3. And those 3 doctors saved Jay Bouwmeester's life.
Don't forget about Craig Cunningham in the AHL as well.
That's absolutely right.
It's crazy. That's a lot.
It is.
And these are professional athletes in the prime of their health. Like, that's the concerning part.
It's like, you look at it from a medical standpoint, and I'm not going to pretend to be an expert. I'm not even remotely a doctor. My undergrad was in biomed, but like you look at the conditions they're under, and yes, they're definitely more likely to have a cardiac incident if they are predisposed to it, or even period, because of the amount of physical stress their body's under in that moment. But at the same time, if you're going to do it, that's the spot for it to happen.
Yeah.
So
I can think of a million worse spots for that to happen.
100%. So it's good to see Jay Bouwmeester on the mend. It seems like everything's turning out okay. He still has a lot of tests. He's not really, scot-free yet, but it looks like he'll be okay. So yeah, that kind of shakes the hockey world when that happens. Like,
oh yeah,
Darren Pang had to report on it, and you can see that he was choking up. It was all a lot. So yeah. It immediately flashed me back to Yuri Fisher, and just like the sight of players pouring onto the ice and like calling over whoever they can to try to help is just
their sense of urgency
rips your heart out of your chest. Like you just get choked up. So yeah, happy that wasn't worse, and kudos to the NHL and kudos to those medical professionals, and for his teammates. It was Pietrangelo and Robert Thomas, or
Vince Dunn was the first one who saw him go down. Yeah, so
glad that they saw and noticed right away. Who did Fisher slump over on? Was it Draper? He slumped over on someone. They were I thought he was kidding at first, and then we realized.
I would assume it would be another defenseman, since so the benches get segregated. But
yeah, well, what if he was on the end? Anyway,
I don't know. Yeah, he's Draper's fourth liner. He could have been anywhere.
Our thoughts and our thoughts go out to the Jay Bouwmeester. His dad was at that game for the dad's trip, so blessing and a curse. He was there for his son, but must have been horrifying to see in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, because that would have sucked for all the dads, because they probably wouldn't have known who went down right away because you couldn't see him.
No.
So all the other dads are probably frantically scanning the bench. Where's my kid? Where's my kid?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man. Well, the whole hockey world is behind Jay Bouwmeester and his family, so we're all glad to see that he's turning out, everything's turned out okay. All right. The Detroit Red Wings. Bad news, guys. The Red Wings are officially eliminated from President's Trophy contention. I know. I hate to drop such a bomb on you, but it's the unfortunate.
Just wasn't our year.
No, and you know what? You don't think about these things, and you just try to put your head down and grind towards it, but it just didn't turn out this year. With 25 games left in the season.
How the hell are they not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs already?
I don't know.
That's more surprising to me. That the not being able to finish first just happened.
I don't know when.
Doesn't it mean they're not mathematically eliminated because mathematically teams ahead of them could lose every single one of their games.
But no, because these teams all play each other, right? Like someone's got to get points.
So it'd be whatever they think the minimum threshold of that is. Can the Red Wings still get that many points? And I guess the answer would be yes, because they can win. They could win the remainder of their games. Not likely when you have like a less than 30% point percentage.
Right now, if the Red Wings win all of their games, they finish with 80 points. Yeah.
So once the second wild card gets to 80 points, or the Red Wings have lost a boatload and can't get there, they'll be mathematically limited. So that might be next week.
So if they go on like a 25-game winning streak, that still puts them statistically compared to last year in the bottom 10 of the league.
There's 24 games left, so if they get 48 points, that puts them at 80 points, which is well out of the playoffs every year.
Yeah, last year I'm pretty sure that would have given them a top 10 pick.
Like, obviously the Red Wings weren't going to make the playoffs, and we could have told you that in November, but 24 games out, you're saying if you win every game, you still don't come close. You're like 15 points away.
Red Wings win 24 games in a row, still miss the playoffs by 20 points.
Draft 7th.
Someone on Reddit put it very eloquently. They said,
That's a first.
I know. This is why I'm saying it. They said, the President's Trophy happens every year. Alexei Lafreniere only happens once.
Yeah, I saw that comment, and that was like,
yeah,
beautiful.
that's very true.
This is beautifully written. I've consigned myself to the 4th overall. I know we talked about it, but with now this whole San Jose Ottawa thing, I'm like, it's just not happening. There's no way.
Once we get into our deep dive of prospects, you have no idea how much coverage we're going to do on Lucas Raymond and Tim Stützle and Jamie Drysdale.
Legitimately, we're going to probably do 3 prospect previews. We're going to have an episode just for Drysdale skating. Drysdale's offensive prowess. Drysdale's defensive game. Tim Stützle's name pronunciation. That's going to be a whole episode.
Well, remember the last smooth skating defenseman that was highly touted that we talked about? He might win the Calder this year.
Mo Sider? No, I'm messing with you. I'm messing with you. Yeah, a guy that we were definitely really wrong about. Although,
can we be wrong about Sider? We never covered him.
No. We're talking about Quinn Hughes.
Oh, we weren't very wrong about him. I think we had him like our average of the ranking was like 7th, and he went 7th.
Well, if you come back to it, something, and I do want to do a little bit of revisionist history here. Our landing spot for Hughes was that he was either going to be absolutely unreal or not at all a top pairing defenseman. And we were just like, this defensive core has so many holes. And if someone like Evan Bouchard is there, who looks like to be solid on all fronts, his ceiling might not be as high. That is more enticing for a team that just needs something, please God. Mm-hmm. So
we were just a year early because Detroit did that the following year.
They did that the following year. So I don't want to say that we were completely wrong about Quinn Hughes, but I will come out and say I definitely have a lot of egg on my face because I was not expecting him to be like Cale Makar or Calder Trophy good this early.
Definitely didn't see him as what he is now.
No.
I can't remember, but I'm fairly certain I was down on picking him, and I was trying to shy away from it, but yes, we were all wrong. I was wrong.
Though the Red Wings, their perceived or their reported order, if not Zadina, because Zadina wasn't expected to fall to them, was going to be Bouchard and then Boqvist, I believe, before Hughes. So,
yeah, they were wrong too.
Well, 6 other teams were wrong.
It's not a coin flip, but it certainly feels like you're throwing poop at a wall and just hoping to see what sticks.
Hell of a quote for the 5-year anniversary.
Yep. That's like us.
It is.
We just throw things out there, and once in a while we get put in the Detroit Free Press.
We were poop on a wall, and then we stuck.
Yeah.
Oh, that is going to get quoted.
That is probably the most apt description of us, though.
I got to change our bio on iTunes. The Red Wings played 1 game since we spoke last, and wait, 1 game?
Buffalo, right?
Played Buffalo, lost 3-2. Kind of an unremarkable game. Highlights: Anthony Mantha came back, 2 assists.
Didn't play well and still got 2 assists. It's amazing what happens when you have a player who's extremely skilled.
And
Darren Helm scored 2 goals.
2 goals.
Who is this guy?
Buried his own rebound, and the other one, I can't remember the goal, honestly. It was just he was in the slot.
I forget almost every aspect of the game other than Brendan Perlini almost getting his nose removed.
Well, yeah, he took a scary skate to the face from Henry Jokiharju and left the game. And luckily, he cut open his face from like his cheek to his nose. Looked like
the pictures looked like it almost looked like he was trying to literally surgically remove his nose because the line was almost.
Well, the skate blade is straight, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but perfect angle. Perfect. It was just. I'm just saying. Jokiharju knew what he was doing.
Fortunate it wasn't his eye. Fortunate it wasn't his neck, obviously. He'll have a dope scar, so good for Brendan Perlini. Hockey's the toughest.
Good for Brendan Perlini.
Hockey's the toughest sport in the world. I'm telling you, if I could ever pick a scar, it would be the line straight or maybe even a little bit of an angle down across my eyebrow, but not so deep where it hits my eye, but then it gets my cheek again. So it's a line through your eyebrow.
You're literally a Bond villain.
Yeah, that's cool.
Say, what character is that?
It's King Leonidas from 300.
There it is.
Yeah.
I know there's a character who's had that. So you're telling me my little below my lip isn't perfect, Ryan? I'm offended.
Oh, I forgot you got that. Brad gets injured a lot.
Yes.
Actually, I got injured almost never. It's been a rough year and a half.
You had your lip, you had your shoulder, you had a second kid. Yeah, your body's taking a beating.
Yep.
Yeah, it's been a rough 6 months.
As people ask me more about the podcast, like people in my personal life, or sometimes people at work find out about it. They ask about you guys, and it's super easy to describe Evan. I think he's as weird as you are. You're a pretty normal dude. Then I describe Brad, and they're like, "How does he have the time for this?" I'm like, "Well, he really did. Like, he had a kid, and that kid wasn't an easy kid. Like, she's super smart. Like, she's a terror. If you don't, she's like kind of like a husky. I'd describe Mika as a husky. So smart, but if you do not stimulate her, she is going to ruin your absolute life, and she will let you know about it." And Brad still kept all of his energy. And then I was just like, what's it gonna take? It's gonna take a second kid. After Henrik came, I was like, oh yeah, you're tired. You're tired as hell. Yeah.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Welcome to everyone else's life. I'm like,
have no idea.
I should get the Post Malone tattoo under my eyes. Always tired.
We could. Oh, that's fun.
Might have to get that.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy, if you think you're tired now, you have no concept.
I'm gonna get no kids on both of my.
Yeah.
That's the wise.
I'm gonna get that as my license plate on my $100,000 car.
The Red Wings have currently the New Jersey Devils in a lottery bowl game, and then they have Boston and then Pittsburgh before we talk again. We're actually not going to be recording on Sunday as we usually do. No, you check the messenger chat once ever?
Usually once a day.
This
Because I remember the last time you asked me, like, can you do Sunday morning or Monday morning? I said either works, and I have not seen an update.
And then do you think maybe we came to something after?
I checked after that day.
You must not. I answered right away.
Oh, if you answered right away, yeah.
Anyways, for all the listeners and Brad, we will be recording Monday morning. That's when we'll drop the next episode. It is a holiday here. I believe also a holiday in the States.
President's Day.
We'll drop that Monday morning a little bit earlier for you, so you don't have to go too long without an episode before coming back at you the following Thursday, just to space these out a little bit better. So yeah, we have New Jersey, Boston, and Pittsburgh.
We're going 2-1.
2-1. What are they going to do today against New Jersey?
I don't know. Probably lose.
Yeah, they're going to beat Boston and Pittsburgh and lose to New Jersey because that's how this season goes. Because the Detroit Red Wings are the team on pace to be the worst team in the Cap era, yet somehow still have a 5-game winning streak against one of the top teams in the
If Boston doesn't beat Detroit this season, their fan base is going to implode.
I think by default they miss the playoffs.
Yeah,
They can finish with 110, but they'll be out.
Boston has 2 more cracks at it, I believe.
Yeah, if they don't beat Detroit like 9-1 this Saturday, they don't even care about hockey.
Can you imagine? That is like the biggest. I hope Detroit goes undefeated against either one of Montreal or Boston. Both would be great, but if they could salvage just one of those staying undefeated, oh man.
I can't even pick which fan base, so it would be better to do that too.
Boston.
Oh, the French are.
Kotkaniemi's already in the minors. He's already.
I have like this just vindictive nature towards the French, so
yeah.
I'll take the French on this one.
I was talking to a Leafs fan friend of mine, and I was like cackling about how the Leafs are fighting for a playoff spot. And like obviously a super talented team, and like yeah, they should make it. And they're like, are you really so petty where you would laugh if Toronto missed the playoffs? And I was like,
Yes.
yes. Have you met me? God, yes. I'd feel bad for Steve. I really would feel bad for Steve. But, oh, man, after the whole Mantha thing, yeah.
Oh,
100%.
it's not even that. It's just Leaf fans in general. You know what I also don't like? When, you know how they're always like, oh, I'm just cheering for the Canadian team that's left in the playoffs. I'm like, I don't like it. I don't cheer for any of the Canadian teams, and I still wouldn't do that.
Grow up, you know?
Unless it's like Vancouver. I mean, I don't have anything against them, and they're young, so they're interesting. If it's Montreal or Toronto or anybody else, I'm like, ugh.
No thanks.
Filth.
I'm very much cheering for Connor McDavid in a Stanley Cup final. I need this in my life.
Okay, but do you want Ken Holland to go to a team with a free Connor McDavid and win a cup?
I love Ken Holland, of course.
Yeah, whoa, Brad,
Whoa,
mature.
whoa.
Yeah, you're a grown man. Grow up, idiot.
He had 20 good years and 5 bad ones. I'll still take that.
Before anybody gets too angry at Evan and I, that's what Brad said is what we all believe. Like, that's legitimately. Ken Holland should go into the Hall of Fame as a builder for what he built in Detroit. But recency bias means we can be a little bit peeved at him right now because we're living.
Oh, don't worry. I'm going to rip on him for that Darnell Nurse contract he just signed.
What do you think about it?
He walking him right to free agency. It's dumb.
Shouldn't you just take the risk at that point? Buy some UFA years with Darnell Nurse or don't?
If anybody wants to play in Edmonton, you lock them up long term. Because in 2 years, someone could be like, I'm done living in this wasteland.
Like, if Darnell Nurse was asking like an exorbitant amount of money to go long term and buy UFA years, sure, I absolutely understand this then, and we'll never know if that's true or not. But I find it weird that you can get Zach Cassian on a 4-year contract, but you can't get Darnell Nurse on something longer than
What was
2.
his deal?
Five and a half, just about.
It's a good cap hit for Darnell Nurse.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I guess they must have been far apart in terms of dollars and years, so that's all you got, I guess?
yeah, so Darnell Nurse probably is like, I'll take less money now, but literally I'm going into the unrestricted market at the youngest possible age I can.
You couldn't buy one UFA year.
That's, to me, the thing. It's like,
Because I don't think there'll be a cup contender in the next 2 years. Oh, well, you know what? You can never discount a team with McDavid and Draisaitl.
but then why wouldn't you just do a 1 year even too? Like, fine, let's just do this year. We'll fix our cap next summer and then we'll pay you at the ass.
Ken Holland is not good at fixing caps. Ken Holland's good at a lot of things. RFA deals, yes.
This was an RFA deal.
Yeah, well, you know what? RFA deals with Detroit, yes. Fixing cap problems, either that he made or that pre-existed, he's made almost no moves to relieve those. That's why whenever Steve Yzerman does something, we're like, oh my God, you can do that? And he hasn't even done much in terms of cap relief because he can't, because they're anchors.
Maybe he'll trade Darnell Nurse.
I don't know.
Do you really have the license to trade defensemen when your best defenseman is
Darnell Nurse?
Is it Ethan Bear? I don't know.
Maybe they have.
Maybe Oscar Clefbaum. Wow, Edmonton's got a solid defense. When did that
Maybe
happen?
they think Evan Bouchard is going to replace him. I have no
They do have
idea.
I sure
Bouchard,
hope so.
Broberg.
Hope he does. Bouchard and Broberg should be their top 2 in a few years. shouldn't
Maybe
they?
that's what they think. They'll use Darnell Nurse as a trade piece and get that filler or a high-level forward that they've been looking for a century, it feels like.
Seriously,
But they trade all of those away.
When did Edmonton get a good defense? Bear, Clefbaum, Nurse, Broberg coming, Bouchard coming. This doesn't feel right. It's not natural.
Well, it's not good yet.
Oh my God, Ken Holland's.
I would argue even now as is, like with Adam Larson, like it's respectable.
Well, it's certainly respectable, but they're not jumping to the top of my list.
McDavid and Draisaitl aren't going to go without a cup. They're just not. You can't have those 2 players and go without a cup. Those are 2.
Yeah, is that cup going to come in Edmonton though?
Yes. Yeah. Those are 2 game-breaking superstars that you have tied up long-term. Draisaitl on his own would get conversation as a Hart Trophy nominee on any other team. And the only reason he might get fewer votes on this team is because he plays with this league's version of LeBron James. Like, it's the only...
They don't even play in the same line, though.
No, and they don't, because Draisaitl is a freak.
But who do you think's drawing the tougher matchup?
That in the Wing Wheel Podcast Fantasy League, you guys let me draft 16th overall.
That's only because I had to pick 12th, and I took Pasternak. Not a bad pick.
No, but you know who's a better pick? Draisaitl. The best pick is McKinnon. I think.
Well, plus minus matters. That might be all right.
It does matter,
There you
but
go. I haven't
Draisaitl
actually-
is second overall in fantasy.
I haven't actually opened the app in like 6 weeks.
My highest player is like 41. And I'm second in our league.
I do the same thing every year. I beat your ass the other week.
No, we tied.
Oh, frick. I do the same thing every year. I pay attention to fantasy football because I'm broken. I get mad at fantasy football, and then I see how far into last I am in the fantasy hockey, and I recover.
You're not doing bad.
I got up to seventh.
battling.
Yeah, I got back up to seventh.
I was in first, and then I just completely forgot to ever update my thing. So I don't even want to know where I am now.
Okay, quick question. Does Anthony Mantha in these last 24 games hit 20 goals?
No, because he's going to fight Jake Muzzin again.
He actually said Jake.
Yeah, he hinted at it.
It might not even be on the ice.
Like, I will be totally cool.
because he's hurt, right?
No, they'll just fight out in the parking lot.
Oh, that's fair.
If Jeff Blashill healthy scratches Anthony Mantha that game, I'm okay with it, honestly. Anthony, dude, stop. I appreciate the mindset. I appreciate the mentality. I appreciate the effort. We can't. Red Wings hockey without him is hard to watch, buddy. We need you.
It's hard enough when he is in the lineup.
Yeah, it's hard enough when you're there, dude. Just think about that when we're losing 30 goals out of that lineup.
He needs 8 more to hit 20, I believe.
How many games left?
24.
Yeah, he'll hit it.
Oh, yeah, big time.
The Red Wings are linked to yet another European player, Frederick Handemark. These are all funny things because we talked about Malty Stromwall the last episode, which is a player over in the KHL who used to play in the Finnish Elite League and a bunch of other places around the
He was
world.
drafted by the Rangers.
He was a Rangers asset, yeah.
Are we just drafting anagrams of famous Swedish hockey players and seeing if anybody will catch on?
Yes. It's actually just Thomas Holmstrom.
Okay.
With even bigger shoulder pads to sit out front. These are all... It's all happening the same way. Like Aftonbladet, and I apologize to our Swedish listeners for that pronunciation. Or... I can't remember, Sven something. The other outlets are reporting on it, but like either these deals can't be announced until after KHL or Finnish Elite League or whatever else ends, or they're just not true and these players are linked to a lot of teams, which has happened before. But if you guys remember what happened with Oliver Kasky, he was linked to Detroit and the deal wasn't announced for a couple weeks after, like formally. So we'll see when it comes up. All of these players have similar kind of appeal, good offensive talent, one kind of like unique trait, either like the way they shoot or the way they skate or their power play specialist. And realistically, if you slot them into the Red Wings lineup right now, they're like the 4th or 5th best forward automatically. So it's more competent body filling from Yzerman for both Grand Rapids and then maybe the Red Wings. It's darts on a dartboard or just trying to find warm bodies.
Competent bums.
A lot of money is coming off the books next year for the Red Wings, and Yzerman's not keen to fill that up with much unless it's worth it. And so you need guys who can do something out there. You can't have another season as bad as this one, but it's also still not going to be a playoff competitive season in all likelihood. So we'll report more on that as more news comes out. I've tried to do some digging and I found nothing more concrete than what's out there already. So that's the Red Wings. We'll move on. Do you guys want to do a tankathon?
No.
And for that, we're going to do a tankathon.
It just saddens me because all the times we hit don't make up for all the sadness of the times we miss.
And we're going to sim the lottery, and the Red Wings come 4th.
Shocker.
LA 1st, Ducks 2nd, Chicago 3rd.
Well, at least it's all out of conference.
It's all in the West. And then the Red Wings 4th. Are you still on Lucas Raymond?
Right now, my money's on him not being there 4th, but yeah.
So how do you think the top 3 goes? Lafreniere, Byfield, Raymond?
Yeah, I'm literally 50-50 on Raymond or Stützle. I think whoever's picking 3rd, I think it's going to come down to positional need, because
that's where I'm at too.
My hot takery right now is, depending who lands there, I think there's a very, very, very strong possibility Drysdale goes 3.
Oh, that's a good point, because I actually wanted to talk about Drysdale. That guy is not bad. You know, he's not like...
No shit.
He's not... He's not far out of the tier of like the Heiskanen and the Makar in them. If you guys have listened to the Scott Wheeler interview, and if you haven't, please go back and listen. He gave a lot of good information. Drysdale has a ton of appeal. And if you've learned one thing over our previous 5 years of draft coverage, defensemen, the top defensemen in these drafts rise meteorically. They usually start out ranked like 6th or 7th and then move up. Drysdale's already like guaranteed top 5. Brad's hot take of him going the top 3, I would actually say is like a 40% chance right now.
It all depends on draft order.
Yeah, I like if your tankathon goes as it would, yeah, I would bet on Drysdale because Chicago has a need for defensemen.
If you're
Run another tankathon, I'll see who ends up third, and I'll say if Drysdale goes third or not there. Run it.
Drysdale or 3rd overall Montreal.
Absolutely, he's going there.
With Shea Weber dying, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're the Red Wings, do you consider taking Jamie Drysdale at any position?
Absolutely, I do.
Because he could be so good, right? Like your Drysdale cider.
The whole reason I said no, I don't think the Red Wings would take him was because you have Hronek and Cider as your top 4 right D for, in all likelihood, the next decade. Except for the fact the Red Wings have been playing Hronek at lefty, including tonight.
Yeah.
So that opens up an interesting
I take the best. If you're looking for a defenseman, I take the best defenseman available, regardless of the handedness of their shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't get too attached to the handedness, although I do remember when I was asked to play lefty because I'm a right-handed shooting defenseman and I loathed it, so I understand.
Well, these are professional athletes. They're big boys. They'll figure it out.
What are you saying I am?
Even left wing to right wing, it's night and day depending on the system you run. Like team I play for, I couldn't play left wing because of the way we run our breakouts. I would die.
You guys run breakouts?
Yeah.
You nerd, man. Get a hobby, drink or something. How many beers do you have a week?
Usually none.
Triple that.
So still none.
Labatt. Drink Labatt. Labatt Blue. Former sponsor and future again sponsor of the Winged Wheel podcast. Okay, Jamie Drysdale is in consideration. So you're right now between Raymond and Stützle.
And Drysdale, but Drysdale would be 3rd of the 3 right now.
Evan, if you had to pick, assuming that you could will one of them to be available at 4, who would you want for the Red Wings? And it can't be Byfield or Lafreniere. Raymond, Stützle, or Drysdale. Or Marco Rossi.
Or other.
Sorry, Red Wings.
Get weird.
Red Wings picking 4th. You can will someone that's not Lafreniere or Byfield to be there at 4. Who do you want it to be?
Oh, God, that's tough.
Or I guess it's just, I'm just asking who would you pick at pick 3?
Tim Stützle is the one that first jumped to my mind. So without, digging any deeper, that's who I would go with. But if I like forwards because I find them more of a high impact based on their position.
Also, the Red Wings, if we're being honest, have a bigger need for forwards right now.
Yeah, I have a lot more question marks on our forward prospects than defensively. Not to say we don't have any because we're the worst team in the league. We have lots of question marks. But that was the name who jumped to me first. He's dynamic, and every time I saw him with the puck in the World Juniors, it was something exciting was happening. And there's very few players that I see at that level who garner that sort of energy.
If Mo Seider didn't hit as much as he seems to have hit right now, this would be a different conversation.
For sure.
But it looks like Mo Seider has a legitimate chance of being like a true like league-wide number 2 defenseman with how good he is at...
He's 18 and plays like he's 25.
Yeah, that's the best description for Mo Seider. You combine that with his size, then yeah, absolutely.
He's huge, and you'd think guys who are 18 and that big would not understand their body as well, but he looks like a pro.
I think I'm with you on Stützle right now. I think with everything coming out where he could reasonably play center and actually play it naturally, that's something that appeals to me in a big way. Much like Lafreniere, though, I think we sometimes have to caution against getting too attached to the whole center wing conundrum. You can drive a line from a wing if you're good enough.
His name's Alexander Ovechkin.
That's exactly it. Terrible to compare everybody to Ovechkin.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Anthony Mantha.
Anthony Mantha, as Brad has preached before, might be the most skilled player on this Red Wings team when he's not breaking his body trying to fight people. And I honestly think he's probably right now. I think you're right, Brad, in saying that right now. Larkin is the best player on this team, but Anthony Mantha might have the best pure skill on this team right now. We'll see what Philip Zadina has to say about that, presuming he pans out in every way possible, but still.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Draft, something or other, loneliness, sadness, team sucks, but future.
The nice thing is about this draft, although I'm going to be very sad if we don't get the first overall pick, regardless of what our percentage says, picking at 4th, we are still going to get someone who, by all rights, is going to be a very, very talented NHL hockey player at their position.
Updates in the NHL. Trevor Daley stopped a breakaway, and Zach Kassian kicked a Tampa Bay Lightning player in the chest with his skate blade.
Was Trevor Daley...
That was a donkey kick. That wasn't like he tapped him with the toe. That was all blade.
Was it Trevor Daley who was on the breakaway and just dumped it into the corner and set up the cycle?
How'd you know?
I just had a feeling.
I think he could set up a cycle.
No.
Wow, that kick has thrown me off. Okay, philosophical question for you before we move on from the Red Wings. Do you call up Grand Rapids Griffins players right now, or do you leave them down because they're fighting for a playoff spot and want to make a push?
Do you want me to give the popular answer or an honest answer?
Well, I want you to give both.
My honest answer, I'd leave him down.
And the popular answer.
Bring him up! Let's have some fun!
Yeah, that's basically... I think that's what they tried to do last year, too, is call up anybody and everybody who has some sort of story to put some butts in the seats at the end of the year. I would prefer them to stay as far away from this disaster as humanly possible, because losing destroys confidence. And, you know, making a playoff push with the Grand Rapids Griffins is great. And, you know, that's experience that those players need.
Now, let's say the Red Wings are post-trade deadline. There's, 9 games left in the season. Grand Rapids is still in a similar spot where they're fighting for a playoff spot, but Detroit still hasn't seen any Mo Seider this season, and he's integral to the Grand Rapids Griffin season. Do you call him up for his 9 games?
You basically answered the question there. No.
You don't want to see any of Mo Seider in the NHL this season?
I absolutely do, but the responsible answer would be to get him some playoff games, and if him playing in Grand Rapids is going to help get him some playoff games, you do it. Because Detroit, yeah, it'll be good for him to get a taste of what this step up in competition would be like. Maybe you give him a weekend in Detroit. All right, kid, get your feet wet, know what you're in for.
There could be a circumstance where Grand Rapids has time off, and it makes sense to call him up for a couple games and play with the Wings. But yeah, I agree with Brad. Keep him down.
I don't think anybody would be up right now, like Lindstrom or Hirose, if it wasn't for the slew of injuries.
That's what I was going to say. If everybody's semi-healthy, I will definitely say we won't see Mo Seider in Detroit.
If Detroit,
even if they have a lot of injuries, I'd still rather them call up someone more veteran,
Lashoff or whoever. Yeah, I'm. You know what? If the Red Wings are still in a position in late March where it's everybody's injured, we have to pull players up from Grand Rapids because we don't have enough bodies to fill a roster. Sure, bring up Seider for 3 because you're pulling someone out of that roster no matter what. You might as well get some excitement in the fan base and get his feet wet. But unless there's extenuating circumstances like that, no, I think
Ericsson's coming back.
Yes. Oh, he cleared waivers, by the way. Not that anybody's shocked.
Anyways, around the league, the Sedins had their numbers raised in Vancouver, which was a cool ceremony. And me being the complete jerk I am, gloss over the fact that these amazing players and amazing people's careers should be celebrated. And I looked up their stats and thought, these guys are so celebrated, they're going to go to the Hall of Fame, which means Pavel Datsyuk's a lock, right? Stats are better.
Okay, then yes. I'm that was...
yeah, it was a ride.
Went a lot of places to...
Welcome to Pompous Ass's mind.
Yep.
Connor McDavid out 2 to 3 weeks for with a quad injury. If you're Edmonton, what do you do at the trade deadline? Gustav Lindstrom just hit the post. Thank you, Rowan, for these live updates. What do you do, Evan? If you're Ken Holland, trade for Darren Howell. Good idea.
Something tells me that this, regardless of how well this season's going for McDavid and Draisaitl, besides the injuries, I don't think Edmonton, if Ken Holland's smart, which he's proven he is, they shouldn't make a move this season.
You know YouTube can see you, right, Brad?
I know.
Yeah.
Just because you're smart doesn't mean you don't make bad decisions
Yeah.
from time to time. It's like me.
Yeah. Now,
They need to fill up their depth with competent players who can do things.
Darren Helm.
So with Darren Helm being on the market, I if the prognosis turns out to be very, very good for Connor McDavid and they decide that this is the year that they're going to start pushing, there's some good available pieces out there for them to start bolstering their lineup. Is this the year for Edmonton? In my mind, I don't think so. But if they can get somebody with some term, maybe they go for that, but they'll probably do nothing.
Term? Oh, we just upgraded to Abdelkader.
Oh, yeah.
guys, I just saw something on Patreon.
Okay.
And I'm going to save it as a surprise for you.
Okay. Thank you for interrupting a conversation for absolutely no reason.
Terry commented.
No.
You're lying.
That's
swear.
not actually Terry.
It's actually Terry.
Can you cross-reference it with his Twitter?
Because Terry strikes me as someone who wouldn't be a patron.
No. He was for a long time, actually. Looking at it.
And then I missed one episode and we lost a patron because of it, but now he's back.
No. We're going to...
How can I possibly find Terry right
Is the new hashtag going to be, oh, fuck, we found Terry?
Okay, we'll get to it. The Pittsburgh...
No, nothing else matters now.
No, but there actually is hockey stuff. Pittsburgh, Minnesota deal. What do you think? What do you make of it?
Sorry,
If that's
what?
the going rate for middle six forwards, Detroit should sell everybody.
Oh, the
not named
Zucker.
Larkin or Mantha.
Yeah, Zucker for Addison and a first and whatever else.
Man, Pittsburgh is not afraid to go for it.
They have nothing left in their system. It's Samuel Poulin, and then I'm pretty sure their next best prospect is currently playing in like minor peewee single A somewhere.
I understand that I've given Rutherford a lot of crap for the way he's done his asset management.
The asset management was poor here.
I understand that, I don't think he's done everything perfectly, but you cannot take away from the fact that he understands one fundamental thing. And this fundamental thing is what's won him 2 cups with the Penguins and what might win him a 3rd and then a 4th overall with this era for the Penguins. If you have Crosby and Malkin, you go for it every year that they're playing anywhere close to the top of their game. Malkin is for some reason having a career year now. Crosby, you can still make an argument for Crosby being the best overall player in the world. And that's what he's doing. He's getting Zucker, who's a very good player, to play with Crosby. That is going to be a scary line to face. And he gave up a 1st-round pick, and he gave up Addison. But what he's saying is, if you win 1 cup now, who cares if you lose for the next 10 years or you suck for the next 5 or however many it is? Or if you win 3 cups or 4 cups right now, you can suck for the next 30 years. On average, you can suck for the next 124 years and you've still won your fair share. So how much crap can we give Rutherford here? I will give credit to Bill Guerin. I think this is a great return for Zucker.
Yeah, he took Pittsburgh's top prospect. He took their 1st-round pick, which will be late first. And the cap hit sucks, but Galchenyuk's still a player. Like, the problem with Alex Galchenyuk is people view him as he sucks for a 3rd overall pick. But if you just look at Alex Galchenyuk as a perennial 40-point player, that's valuable. That's a useful hockey player. That would put him, 3rd on the Red Wings right now?
Galchenyuk's primed to be a player who just finds the right situation and rebounds. Anthony Duclair. Right?
I don't think...
If you can't find it in Pittsburgh...
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, way to put it right on my parade, man.
Galchenyuk never had those windows where he just dominated like Duclair tends to have. Galchenyuk's a little more consistent. Not necessarily in a good way, but more consistent in who he is as a player. He's actually a low-key a free agent I really want to try to examine this summer because I think they could get him cheap because people will view him as a bust of a 3rd overall pick, whereas he is still a valuable hockey player that could play, like fill in on your 2nd line or be a regular on your 3rd line. Right now, what Alex Galchenyuk is what I think we're all hoping Evgeny Svechnikov will be. So... Yeah, you could probably get him cheap. He'll fill a role. He'd be a really, really good, competent bum. I don't think he's a negative get for Minnesota other than the cap hit, but Minnesota's not up against the cap, so they don't care.
I found Harry's Twitter.
Yeah, he tweeted. That's how we found him. He tweeted at us.
When?
That's how this whole thing started.
No. I didn't know you still had his Twitter handle.
Oh.
I have his Twitter handle. I found it.
All right. You know what? We're going to do this now. We're going to get over to overtime. It's a midweek episode, so which means overtime is Patreon exclusive. And we're going to start reading out patron comments. I'm going to read out Terry's comment. And you know what? I'm going to qualify this. I know we've joked a lot about Terry. Go ahead.
Is it the real Terry?
It's the real Terry.
Are you sure?
Promise.
Are you sure?
I can tell. Just, and you'll understand after I read his comment.
Does he have a picture? Because I will verify. I need, we need to be.
Is it someone leaning out of a window?
Yes.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay.
Okay.
This is the real Terry.
It's the real Terry, and you can tell after we read the comment. We've joked about Terry. I can't promise that we won't joke it. Honestly,
Terry is he's the fourth member of this podcast at this point.
He is. And I'm going to give Terry, a very serious conversation here because I kind of pre-read his comment as you guys were talking. And I want to give this attention, and I can't promise, Terry, that you'll like our answer, but I think it's good a facilitation of discussion for people who maybe don't love what we do on the podcast. And maybe we'll learn something from it. Hello, hosts of the Winged Wheel podcast, in quotations, which I think is some... Anyhow, I decided to give you another few listens after seeing my name on Twitter a few times and then being referred to in episodes with alarming regularity, and that's a very fair statement. I then felt it necessary to briefly become a patron to sell my side of the story. I would appreciate it if you could donate my $1 to charity rather than line your pockets. Yes, I will absolutely. Is this Rowan? This is something.
It's probably Rowan.
It's Rowan, you son. It's Rowan. I really thought it was Terry. No. He got us.
He got you.
He got all of us at the same time. We all take equal blame. Oh my God. And you know what? Rowan was texting me like, oh, I have to put in a comment.
Didn't you say he was a patron for a long time?
Yeah. And then that's what gave it away. Rowan, I can see how long you've been a patron for, you dingus. You almost got away with it. And you know what what else gave it away? The line your pockets comment. Terry's still not here.
Remember when I said Terry was the fourth member of the podcast?
Yeah.
That was just being nice. He's not.
Is it just Rowan? Okay. Rowan, because you actually fooled. Okay, look, I was texting him before this game and Rowan said, oh, I have to put out a comment. And I was like, yeah, you've missed the last couple episodes. He goes, oh, I'll save it for next episode. So he was trying to throw me off the scent. You piece of... Anyhow, Rowan says, I was upset in December because being a Red Wings fan has been hard this season, and I just wanted to hear people talk about Red Wings hockey. The off-topic tangents may be enjoyed by some, and I note continue to be part of your show, but please stick to hockey! Exclamation, 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 exclamation. I wonder how many other listeners you have lost over the last 5 years due to this nonsense. I suspect hockey talk is why people listen to you. Even if I don't always agree, the arguments put forward are mostly understandable, but when they are bad, they are very bad. Rowan, I'm about to fly to Australia to kick his 6'7" ass. You know how that's how tall he is?
Actually?
Yeah, he's like 6'6" or 6'7". You'll have to excuse me as I'm still learning which voice is who, but someone was very complimentary about Madison Bowie a while ago, and that was very bad. Maybe that's why you go off topic a lot, to mask these clearly wrong opinions.
You thought this was a legitimate comment?
I didn't read this in depth.
Oh my God.
I can also assure you I'm very much not lost and only about 4 hours away from you in North Bay. Maybe I can come on the podcast one day so we can talk about hockey and only hockey to improve things. We would never invite someone from North Bay on this podcast. We're not deranged.
No.
Sorry if you're listening from North Bay. All four of you, which is the population of North Bay. Why are there only 2 of you sometimes and then 3 other times? Not very consistent. Also, you keep mentioning YouTube, but I don't know why. I looked and it's very boring watching people sit and talk, although the table is very nice. So kudos to whoever made that. RD Woodworking, Daniel Rossi at RD Woodworking.
This sounds less and less like Terry every sentence.
Anyways, I hope you appreciate my feedback and stop saying fresh cheese bag or whatever it is. It's more nonsense. I will listen for a few more episodes in the hope that you get better at sticking to hockey and not food, movies, or snowboarding and complaining about being tired or sick. Life is hard.
We did one of those things this time.
We all have our own issues. We don't want or need to hear about yours. Rowan, I'm so sad because I was so Oh, man. I'm glad you guys haven't.
Terry is from North Bay.
Oh, wow. Rowan
does his research, man. He always does his research.
When our bodies are missing, but our skin is somehow still there, you'll know who did it. Listeners of the Winged Wheel podcast. Garrett TV says, holy frick, you guys remembered our anniversary for a change. Any updated recommendations on fruit to eat in the shower? I need to bathe more regularly these days after watching us play hockey. No, seriously, congrats on 5 years. I started listening during that year's playoffs and haven't looked back since you guys ran.
Someone just asked what fruit to eat in the shower.
Yeah, orange. That was our previous recommendation.
You eat fruit in the shower?
Someone eats orange in the shower. It's a whole thing.
What?
It's like he's
Why
not.
are you
It's like he's not here.
People can't hear you nodding your head.
No, but they can see it.
Not everyone's watching YouTube.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Hit that like button.
Hey guys, what up, guys? It's your boy Ryan here. We're trying to find where the hell Evan is. He said he'd be here for 7. It is currently 7:55.
Top 5 tips to start your own podcast.
Don't.
Before I tell number 1, can you hit the like and subscribe button? It really does me a big favor.
Number 2, I gave $5 to a homeless guy on camera, and then when we hit record again, and we took it back because we really needed that $5.
So what happened with
that bite?
What happened with an orange? Was I here?
That's a great question, Evan.
People started eating oranges in the shower. I don't know why. I never tried it. I don't care. I don't care, Ryan.
I can't tell if this is our best or our worst content. Please tell us.
I don't care.
I haven't. Garrett says I haven't looked back since you guys ran Babcock out of town. Sticks on the ice, boys. Let's go Red Wings. Garrett,
we did it.
Thank you for sticking with us. Rob Rasso says, hey guys, I got one for you. Cholosky and Hirose for Georgiev and Anderson. Yes, but they would never say yes to that.
No, yeah, the Rangers would never in a million years agree to that.
Cholosky and Hirose would not be enough for Georgiev alone. Cholosky and Hirose might not be enough for Anderson alone.
I'd say Cholosky and Hirose right now are both more individually valuable than Anderson.
Individually. That's a good one. That's a good Bradism.
There you go.
Also, Evan, we have something in the works for you. Did the Red Wings score?
Yes, they did. Andreas Athanasiou from Anthony Mantha.
What do you guys think? Do you do that as a GM of both teams? No. Sorry, but I wish it would be worth it to do. All right, we're going to move on to... I lost the tab here. Chris says, hey guys, I've been a fan since the end of last year's season, and I finally decided to become a patron to help out the podcast. I grew up in Michigan, but then went to college in Colorado and now live in Texas. Watching the Wings always helped me feel closer to the game, to home, and I've tried to convince more people to watch the sport and took some to their first game. Anyways, you guys are Stevie Y today and are only allowed to make one trade before the deadline. What's the deal that you make? That's for both of you. What deal do you make if you're Stevie Y and you can make one trade before the deadline?
I can make any trade within reason.
Within reason. Make it like a reasonable trade and make it take long enough where I can clip this Athanasiou goal.
Okay, reasonable trade to a reasonable team where I could see it actually happening given the parties involved. I will say Darren Helm to the Oilers for a third.
Would you sell? Yeah, I mean, I would, but don't you think they could get more than that?
For Darren Helm and his contract?
Yeah.
A second and Detroit retains half.
Oh, God, yeah, that's a great one.
I honestly see Mike Green having a potential of getting moved. He will play the most absolute sheltered minutes of all time. But I can still see a team wanting him. He'll go to... I don't even know. Tampa, maybe Boston for like a fifth.
He's been bad. He's been silent at best and bad all year.
You put him with people who can actually score goals on just put him on the power play on a second unit. I don't know what other teams' second units look like, but he could put up points.
He goes on to say, I always like the idea of moving AA, but given this year, I think it might be better to move, the better move to hold on to him and get him on a really team-friendly contract. He might even be more valuable if he bounces back. Chris, I want to tell you, Brad loves you for this. Also, it probably wouldn't be with too much term that teams would be scared of. If I was a GM, I would try to move Fabry. We didn't pay anything for him, and if we were closer to making the playoffs, I would say keep him, but teams looking for depth scoring could be really attracted. Give the rant on Fabry, because I think we're on the same page here.
Robbie Fabry is likely due to his short, we'll call it stint with Detroit of success. Not going to be as in demand around the league as other people think because he's getting a bigger opportunity in Detroit than he would on other teams. And it's a very small sample size. And that injury history is still going to scare off other teams. I don't think he gets a big return, but for the exact same reasons as Athanasiou, I think it's worth keeping Fabry around because he would be low risk. You probably don't have to sign him for too high dollars, too long a term, and you can get great value out of him if he continues to perform the way he has. Athanasiou and Fabry's biggest value they could give to the Red Wings right now is to stay with the Red Wings.
We are going to move on, and Haroon Khan says, hey guys, happy 5 years to this great pod. Great job, guys. Thank you, Haroon. Did you guys know that Elvis Merzlikins was picked by the 5th round pick? Oh, that's my pronunciation, not Haroon's, by the way. Picked by the 5th round pick.
Merzlikins.
Yep, that's what I said. Picked by the 5th round pick, Detroit sent to Columbus. Vasilevsky was picked by the Detroit's 1st round pick as well. Imagine we had those two in net right now. Also, let's play a game. Can you guys name each GM in the NHL and categorize them? The categories are elite, meh, horrendous, mildly bad will fit in this category as well. Thanks, guys, and let's go Red Wings. All right.
Hey, that's a Patreon exclusive episode.
Haroon, I will tell you that is a great idea for a Patreon exclusive, and I'm going to write that down. More rankings, A, in the interest of time, and B, because I think that's a great discussion.
Oh my God, I'm just running through the first handful of teams in the league, and I actually know them, and I don't know if that's good or bad.
Probably awful. How many, you and I should make a bet on how many Evan knows.
GMs?
Yeah.
Oh, it's low.
Over or under 10?
You know what? I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say over. I think he can get 12 to 15.
I'm going to say under. Evan,
No,
right?
it's over 10.
Evan, right now.
I'm not doing it right now. We'll save that for the Patreon exclusive.
Okay, but
I won't
promise not
No,
to
because
research.
you can research. Yeah,
No,
I
He'll-
won't research.
No,
I
we
will
have to
go
do it right
off-
now.
No, I will do it on the Patreon exclusive episode, and then I will let you guys talk, and I will look up GM so that I can participate in that conversation.
What a good podcast host. And I take Evan at his word. You know how I know he's not going to research?
Because I don't care. As soon as I leave, I'm not even going to remember this conversation.
Hold on. We just need to give him a control to make sure that we know now he knows nothing, and then he knows an obvious one so we can go in blind. So I'm going to give you two teams. You're going to tell me the GMs, and then we're going to go from there, okay?
If it's anyone in our division, I will know them.
Okay, we got to give him an easy one. Who is the...
That's a lie.
Who's the GM of Florida right now?
I don't know.
Okay.
We're good.
Who's... yeah, actually, that's the only one we need to give him.
I think that's the one I didn't know. Oh, yeah. No, maybe. I'm not going to let it all out.
Yakaruta says Galchenyuk has been in the news lately, and I feel like he'd be a nice reclamation project for the Wings to sign as a UFA on a one-year deal. He's still relatively young and has scored a lot of points, or we could flip him at the deadline. I have a feeling that Minnesota will keep him for the same reasons. Don Mitchell says, well, this is awkward. I didn't get you guys anything for the anniversary. I'll make it up next year. I'll get you anything your little heart's desire on the dollar menu. Or I'll pay for the Golden Arches poutine option. Yes, please. You're welcome.
I ate McDonald's in the car on the way over here and my stomach hurts.
If my lack of gift didn't make you all cry, this season sure has. At least for Pearls, have you looked at his face? Be sure to zoom in. Otherwise, how else can you tell that his nose was removed from his face? We almost had Lord Voldemort on our team. Everyone is talking about the draft in our Grand Rapids prospects, but have you been checking out our overseas guys? Kevin Mackey, Chuchiev, and Tuomisto seem to be doing really well, getting points and tons of ice time. Pause for discussion. Yeah, Kevin Mackey, I think, has been on a steady little path upwards. Chuchiev is still very much in the preliminary phase, but Tuomisto has been impressive.
And other than Kevin Mackey, with Chuchiev and Tuomisto, it's in not the top leagues that they could be playing in right now, which is notable. Because Chuchev's in the VHL or the MHL, I always get them mixed up, and Tuomisto is still in the Finnish Junior League, but he is coming to the NCAA next year. So, cautiously optimistic on all three of them.
With Minnesota trading Zucker, they basically have punted the season and embraced the suck until the lottery. Who's the next team that's going to unwillingly punt their season away? Non-lottery teams. Maybe Columbus with their slew of injuries.
They're in a divisional seed last I checked.
It's all tight, though. If they lose like 6 of the next 10, 6 of their next 8.
Seth Jones is out now, right?
Seth Jones is out. Josh Anderson's out.
Anyone who
Arizona.
Arizona's a good one. That's a good answer. Athanasiou trade rumor. Athanasiou to Boston for Krug, Backus, and a 2021 first. God, no.
Boston is not giving up assets that are going to help them win this year.
Krug is worth more than Athanasiou by a lot. Spank you very much and bless your face. If you sneezed while you read this comment, then bless you. Thoughts and prayers to J-Bo. Cheers, guys. Don. Not to insult you, Don, but no, Krug is far too valuable to give him up for Athanasiou. Austin Heuser says, gents, 5 years. Wow, well done indeed. Apparently 5 years is the Wood anniversary. I think we already traded him for him this season, so there you go. That's his table from Daniel Rossi of RD Woodworking.
I forgot we had that guy playing in Grand Rapids.
More trade talk and maybe a bit of 4D chess. Do you think teams, i.e. Pittsburgh, paid more for Zucker on purpose to intentionally inflate the market, thereby making it harder for other teams to get deadline deals? Seems like a drastic overpayment for a middle six guy, but maybe the better GMs just know what they're doing. All the best, and let's go Red Wings.
Pay a premium early to get your guy before the rest of the market gets their grubby hands on him.
Joseph Craig says 5 years. Oh, sorry. Do you have something, Evan?
I was just going to say 2 weeks of another player, a middle six forward, could be the difference between in and out of the playoffs for a lot of teams.
Joseph Craig says 5 years, guys. Congrats. So when my first son was born, I wanted to ramp up my understanding of hockey, and so I looked for a Red Wings podcast. I found this podcast, so I started to listen to you all while my wife was recovering and trying to figure out how to keep a little baby alive. Sammy turns 5 on the 20th. He is now a termite hockey player, and I've listened to every episode you guys have put out. You all have been a part of me figuring out how to be a parent and how to pass on the love of hockey to the next generation. Love you guys.
Jesus.
Wow, my heart just grew 10 sizes. Joseph, we loved you. We love little Sammy. We love your family. And he's grown up with the Winged Wheel podcast. Oh my God.
That's like 3 kids that have done that now.
I'm so emotional. Clayton Van Dyken says, hey guys, long time no comment. I wanted to say congratulations and happy podcast birthday. You guys make these shitty seasons bearable. I do have a question though. People keep debating, oh, if the Wings don't pick first, who should we get? Byfield, Stützle, Raymond, etc., etc. My question is, why not all of them? What would happen if Eisman goes up to the podium on draft day with pick number 2 and says the Detroit Red Wings are proud to select Quentin Byfield, Lucas Raymond, and Tim Stützle? I mean, can you really tell Steve Eisman no? That's a great question. I mean, it worked for some presidents, so.
Isn't that how Brian Burke got the Sedins?
Essentially.
Yeah.
Jacob Lozen says, aloha dub-dubs. Congratulations on 5 years. What a milestone. Jay Bomeister had a cardiac episode, as we all know. Thank goodness he's stable and good care. My question is about the game that is going to be made up. Both the Ducks and Blues agreed to make up the game on a date to be determined. The game was tied 1-1 with 7:50 left in the first. When the game is made up, does it start off with 7:50 left in the first, or does it basically reset 0-0 with the full 3 periods?
It will actually start 1-1 from minute 1 of the game. So they're going to replay the game starting because even though the Rich Peverley incident was horrifying, it actually left a really, really cool anomaly in the hockey history. So when Rich Peverley had his event, Columbus was leading Dallas 1-0, and the goal was scored by Nathan Horton. So when they resumed the game, they played a 60-minute game, but they started it 1-0 Columbus. When that game rolled around, Nathan Horton was injured. So Nathan Horton's the only player in NHL history to score a goal in a game he didn't play.
It's like a rift in the time-space continuum.
It would be cool if we got a player that scored for both teams in one game. That would break.
If he gets if St. Louis and whoever makes a trade, I'd be here for it.
That would break every kind of analytical model there is. They'd be so confused. Yeah, that's a different one, and I don't know if there's any hard and fast rules, but they kind of play it how Brad put it out there. Charles Wilhelm says, happy 5 years. We've been through a lot, huh? Being a Wings fan isn't the healthiest relationship, but it helps when you have a support group. Here's to another 5 years and hopefully a Stanley Cup celebration episode. I've been listening since the beginning and look forward to every episode. Keep it up, boys. Thank you, Charles. Speaking of a Stanley Cup episode, would you be able to give an estimate of just for how much alcohol will be consumed per 60 on that episode/celebration? Oh, we would do a plastered Patreon exclusive.
For what?
If we win the cup.
Ovi's cup celebration would hold nothing to what we would do.
Nigh a candle. Just an estimate is fine, but also the answer yes is acceptable. Also, who would be the first to pass out?
Brad.
Oh, no chance on that one.
It's Brad.
Ryan is absolutely the first one to go down.
I don't pass out. I throw up profusely the next morning.
Hey, are you me?
Yes. Although shorter with a less sharp jaw.
Oh, man.
I puke like nobody's business.
In my college days, I was like puke and rally night of. There was no ending.
Oh, I was like that in my college days too.
Yeah.
Those are long gone. Happy 5 years.
Exactly.
Dubbed up fam. Can't wait to see what the next 5 years bring. And then he mentioned that when we were sponsored by the Strong app, he's still subscribed and just realized it now. David Kazarian says, "What's up, Dub Dubs? 5 years. Congratulations on this fantastic milestone. Been listening to you guys since day one. Discovered the pod on my 4-hour drive to Chicago as I was moving there from Detroit. Haven't stopped listening since. Figured it's finally time to stop being a cheap ass and support the pod." David, thank you so much. Recently visited Banff, and can I just say that Canadians are the nicest people in the world? Anyways, as I was skating around Lake Louise, I am so jealous, and learning how to use a hockey stick and shoot a puck around, I thought of 2 questions. 1, as someone who's never played hockey and has interest in learning, what are the best ways to get started? Find a cheap, not serious beer league or even skate around, and don't be afraid to fall. Like legit, don't be afraid to fall and learn how. It's like snowboarding. Learn how to fall. It's going to hurt. Learn how to hurt, and then you'll have fun. Question 2, this dawned on me as I was getting pointers from an Oilers fan on how to improve my skating. Do we avoid being the Oilers and the Sabres of the rebuild? They have their superstar/franchise players, but have been rebuilding for decades. Seems like having number 1 picks and talented players isn't enough anymore. Where did these teams go wrong, and what can we do to avoid the never-ending rebuild or traps the other teams have fallen into? Bad management.
I mean, yeah, Edmonton's easy to understand what they did wrong. They look at the lists of trades they made that were horrible for that organization.
There's a simpler explanation, too, for why a lot of these teams stay bad, and unfortunately, it's something that nobody can fully control. Bad drafting.
You need more than just you need more than 1 player per draft to pan out.
Yeah.
The only one I really fault Edmonton on is the Yakupov one, but
How are you supposed to fault them? Anyone would have made that pick.
Puljujärvi?
Puljujärvi was, I mean, that's remains to be seen, but...
Well, he won't be doing anything for Edmonton. They better hope they get a good return on him when he's a depreciated asset. So,
it's hard. I don't know if they just put him in the wrong spot when they had him.
They rushed him.
And they're not the first team to do that.
Nobody's ever accused Detroit of doing that.
Think of it like this. If they didn't take Yakupov and they had any sort of foresight, they could have Morgan Riley right now.
Ryan, he goes on to say, additionally, as terrible as we are, I'd love it if you guys could use this opportunity to do some analysis of the Red Wings plays and break down their blatant mistakes this team makes. We get a lot of questions about systems. That might be another Patreon exclusive down the road.
Oh, that feels like it needs to be a YouTube thing.
Do we really need
You almost can't do it without video.
How painful would it be to analyze the systems of a god-awful team?
See, and here's where Trevor Daley gave the puck directly to Jonathan Toews.
It might look like there's string put across the goal line, but no, he just falls under his own accord.
Anyways, thank you guys for 5 years of great content and making my 30-minute train ride to work enjoyable. Hope to see you all in Grand Rapids. Ryan Kearns says, congrats on 5 years, guys. Really appreciate you keeping me updated on the Wings here in Armenia. Nothing else to say. It's really cold here. Here as well, man. Joseph Delia says, congrats, my dude's been listening for almost a year now, and I have a very important question. Can Mo Sider please check me hard enough to put me into a coma until the draft lottery? Could he? Yeah.
Maybe, actually.
I'll be second on the list.
Then check me again if we don't win first. Thanks and congrats again, guys. Josh Terrell says, here's to hoping the 10-year anniversary is in better times. Since there's not enough current misery, let's dig up some more. Who are you guys most disappointed by of the following heap? Nastasiuk, Furk, Xavier Ouellet, Spruill, Pulkkinen, and Yurko. Thank you.
Nastasiuk, because he never even got close to panning out. The other guys at least got their cup of tea.
Ryan Spruill, for a guy who is that good in the O, I was really hoping he would turn into at least a good power play quarterback for us.
That was going to be mine. Well, who are the other ones again?
Nastasiuk, Furk, Xavier Ouellet, Spruill, Pulkkinen, and Yurko.
Yurko was just like the biggest, like the saddest development of a player of all time almost. I had a lot of hope for him, but I would say Ryan Spruill, we dangled the carrot with him at the NHL level, and it just was never meant to be.
Evan Beckner says, gentlemen, congrats on 5 years. Time to see how much faith you have in yourselves and Steve Yzerman. Predict what the Red Wings record will be 5 years from now and who their top scorer will be. Then if anyone remembers, we won't. We can all have a laugh at it then. Good luck and Godspeed. Here's to 100 more years of the Winged Wheel podcast. I love that statement.
Red Wings record 5 years from now. I'm going to go 41, 25, and however many OT losses that would add up to, because I'm optimistic
20?
in the league.
12.
12. And the leading scorer will be Lucas Raymond.
46, 26, and 10. And the leading scorer will be Alexi Lafreniere. I'm not afraid to say it.
We'll finish third in the division. However many points that is, it doesn't matter.
100 and change then.
At the absolute most, we'll be third in the division. I keep thinking that this rebuild is 3 years away from being competitive, and then every time I watch a game, I'm like, we're 5 plus.
It's 3 years away from being 3 years away.
That's really what it feels like. So every time I get any shred of confidence, I turn on a Red Wings game and I just add a digit in front of the number I thought it was.
Hey, they're winning right now.
Against New Jersey.
Dude, them winning against anybody right now is...
Okay, here's the thing. Winning right now against other lottery teams might actually help because it'll push San Jose and Ottawa further up the standings, which gives Ottawa a lesser chance. We're getting into 5D chess here. Jeremy Dahl says, congrats on 5 years, boys. 2 quick questions. Tim and Sid did an over-under on how many Canadian teams would make the playoffs. The over-under was 3.5. What do you guys think? I hate the Canadian team, so I am hoping 0. Let's
3.5?
Yeah, what are we to Toronto?
Toronto, and then I think 2 of Edmonton, Vancouver, Calgary get in the Pacific and or wild card. So I guess my answer would hinge on Winnipeg.
Oh my God. I say one of Florida. No, Florida.
Winnipeg's been hot this month.
Yeah.
When I say Florida, I mean, there's a lot of Canadians in Florida. Oh my, I'm going on the under.
I'm going on the over, I think 4.
Wow.
I say Edmonton.
I'm going to say Edmonton, Calgary, 1 of Vancouver or Winnipeg, and then Toronto.
I say Edmonton, Calgary, and 1 of Winnipeg or Toronto. I don't think both.
You didn't say Vancouver? Did you say Vancouver?
Oh, I forgot about Vancouver. It might be 4.
Learn your geography, son.
Vancouver's got it too good. Also, could you give a shout out to my girlfriend? Happy Valentine's Day, Serena. Serena, happy Valentine's Day. And thank you for being with Jeremy. Just like someone said to us, Wayne Gagne on Twitter said, you guys are all celebrating this 5-year anniversary when really the kudos should go to your partners. And he's not wrong. She lets me talk hockey quite a bit, despite knowing almost nothing. I have yet to drag her to a game. Scared too with how bad they are. Or buy her a jersey. I need to know her favorite player. But I've bought her the hat, which I think she has worn like twice. So small victories. Here's to another 5 years of quality podcasting and sometimes Evan, who brought us beer.
Yep.
The Neebler says, just skied 3 days in Revelstoke over the weekend. We got absolutely dumped on. So much pow. It snowed 28 hours straight. We were shredding gnar. Loved that mountain. Couldn't find the avocado. Heading to Silver Star and Big White this weekend should be good. Evan, please stop making friends.
Is this?
I think so. Michael Barry says, hey guys, I think you misinterpreted my last question. I was wondering if what you would give up personally for the number 1 pick. For an example, Ryan would give up poutine for 7 years for the number 1 pick. Yes. 100%. Ryan, you can ask Brad a similar question.
Sleep.
Evan, would you give up would you say no out of town vacation for the next 4 years?
No. I wouldn't give that up for anything. Literally anything.
Evan is not for the culture. Have a good one, guys. Philip Gastineau says, congrats on 5 years, guys. Keep up the great work. Stay Fresh Cheese Bags of Fournier Company says, I think my previous comment didn't loan. Damn the NYC MTA. Anywho, I'm on my way to the Prudential Center to see the Red Wings probably put up a stinker against the Devils. Let me know if you see me on TV. So congrats on 5 years, fellas. Stay Fresh Cheese Bags. Any cheese pairs well with a 5-year anniversary wine or beers. Connor Leighton says, hey, fellas, congrats on 5 years. Cheers to 5 more. I was recently at the Red Wings game on Sunday when they beat Boston, and I can't believe I witnessed Perlini's first goal. Rest in peace to his nose. And a Wings win. Only took 3 in-person games for it to happen, but with this season, I'm very content with that. In March, I'm taking a trip to DC and we'll be catching a Wings Caps game. My question is, who will I see score their next first of the season? Biega, Daly, Abbey, or Bernier? Go Wings and go Cats.
Other Grand Rapids call-up.
Mo Sider.
Oh, God, could you imagine?
If Mo Sider's first goal happens in...
No, they're going to call up veteran plugs. I'm going to go with Dominic Turgeon.
With that, I will release you two back into your lives. We will say goodbye to this episode. And remember, this has been 5 years of the Winged Wheel podcast. Here's to the next 5. And then as Evan Beckner said, the next 100. We want to thank all of our listeners. All of our supporters are name-level sponsors: Ryan's favorite bastard, Arjun Shankar, Andrew Bohan, Scott Martin, Kayla Thompson, Mitchell Shankowski, Aaron Taylor, Jacob Turner, Matt McKay, Matthew M. Rice, Luke Johnson, Mike Reed, Ryan Lewis, Langabir, Clayton Van Dyken, Caitlin Wood, Hassam Al-Qassem, Charlie Elkins, Hannah Lee, Sean Levine, Connor Leighton, Danny Jr., Matthew Keeler, Craig Kibble, Rob Thiel, Simon Anderson, John Evans, Kay Waz, and Stan Olson. Thank you all so much. Keep an eye out for the custom Winged Wheel podcast jersey giveaway. If you want a bumper sticker, if you drive a vehicle in Michigan, please let us know. Thank you for 5 years. Thank you for making us the biggest Red Wings podcast on the air. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to check out wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find links to other ways to support the show, such as Patreon, official podcast apparel, and more. And don't forget to follow the show on Twitter at Winged Wheel Pod. And of course, the hosts at Brad Crisco, at Ryan Hanna WWP, and at Hockey Town Evan.